All right, what is good, everybody? Super excited to be hanging out with y'all today because we get to unbox the Gibson Beato signature guitar. Now, I've been waiting on this guitar ever since it was announced because for a number of things. One, it's a double cut. Gibson just does not have these in their current lineup, and in my opinion, it's one of the cooler shapes out there. Two, it's got the P90s, you know, unless you want a Junior or an SG Special or a Les Paul Special, not a lot of options out there. Come on, Gibson, give us the Explorers with P90s. I want some Flying V's with P90s. Third, love that shade of blue that they finished this guitar in. I'm so excited to finally see it in person because if you look at the lineup as it is right now, unless you're into cherry or dark cherry or faded cherry, Gibson just does not have a lot of blue in their lineup. So yeah, stay tuned. We're gonna unbox the guitar, tune it up. I'll give y'all a short playing demo. We'll test out some of its tones, and then I'll leave y'all with some final thoughts both on the guitar as just a guitar, and of course the guitar in the whole like Gibson signature guitar context. So yeah, let's get to it. So I may have told a little white lie. Not only are we gonna unbox one Beato signature guitar, but I may have accidentally placed another order for one. So I'll unbox one of them for y'all, and then I'll shoot some B-roll of both of them for you guys, just so you can kind of see like the different variations of the fretboard, you know, the wood grain and that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's check it out. This one came in from American Musical Supply, and the second guitar I bought from Sweetwater. So shout out to Tyler at Sweetwater. Thanks for hooking me up with the Beato signature, man. These Gibson boxes make me feel like I'm unpacking some kind of puzzle, which I guess can be a good or a bad thing. Ooh, here we go, here we go. Seeing the top of the case already. I'll show you all. I like this protective padding they use, man. Oh, and there's some at the bottom too. Despite the guitar being fairly light, it's still kind of a pain to get these out of the box. All right, and we'll just, whoops, toss that aside over there. All right, I love hard shell cases. I mean, I know once you have more than a couple of guitars, the cases really start piling up, but honestly, they're just so useful. Like, if you change your mind about storing them like on a hanger or storing them in a closet or finding some kind of different storage space for them, having the original hard shell case just like makes it so convenient. And I really like these new Gibson cases. Looks like we got a couple of threads poking out of the case there. No big deal. I kind of wish they still said Gibson USA on there, but you know, these look class. All right, y'all, are we ready? Let's open up the latches and take a peek inside. Well, we have a beautiful example or a kind of meh example. Da 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 da! Wow! You know, based on some internet comments that I've seen, a lot of people are dogging this guitar because it's not a gloss finish. You know, it doesn't have a Pearloid logo. Honestly, I really think you're paying for this shade, beautiful, beautiful shade of blue. Here it is, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and carefully set the case down so I can hold the guitar as I'm talking to y'all. All right, y'all. Can move it a little closer to you guys. This is it. I love what I am holding right now. Y'all, this is the business. I know a lot of people were ragging on this guitar, you know, saying that it was overpriced, that you're paying for the Beato name, yada yada. Telling y'all as somebody that has nothing to do with Gibson, nothing to do with anybody really, just a fan of guitars, this shade of blue is beautiful in person. So no, on the spec sheets it says that it's an open pore finish, but the way that they finished it, I think they must have just applied a lot of paint because it doesn't feel rough. It doesn't feel like somebody just didn't sand it, you know, and didn't go through the trouble. This definitely feels like a guitar that's been finished. Now, I know I just opened it, so I'm probably still in awe a little bit, but I'm gonna carefully check it out, you know, make sure there's no glaring bad QC issues or anything terribly awful, but just what I'm seeing right now in person. This fretboard looks nice and dark. The paint looks perfect everywhere that I'm touching. Beautiful shade of blue again. You know, it's called TV Mist, but we all know they were going for some kind of like Pelham Blue vibe. And if you're a Pelham Blue fan, you know, currently they have the SG Faded Pelham Blue, which in my opinion is just really kind of a green. Beautiful color, but it's not blue. It really isn't. And this is beautiful. Love these junior style tuners. You got the two P90s there. Switch. That feels good. All the pots turn beautifully. All right, y'all. So I gave it a quick once over before we played it. I would say the guitar is mostly perfect. Of course, nothing leaves Gibson without just a little bit of an imperfection. Part of the brand, I suppose. There's a slight blue overspray on the binding, but honestly, other than that, you know, there are no chatter marks on the fretboard. Everything looks nice and even. String spacing and alignment is nice and perfect. The nut is cut just fine. Yeah, it's really just a fun guitar to hold here in person. This blue is really impressive. And if you're a fan of guitars like I am, sometimes you just gotta take them out of their case to admire them a little bit. And this is one of those guitars I can definitely see myself doing that with. We've got the Gibson strap. Funny enough, I never use these, and from what other people have told me, these will actually mar your finish. So other than looking kind of cool, not real useful, but if you're like me, you know, and you take good care of your guitars and you're a little bit compulsive, a little bit obsessive, you probably want to hang on to this. You know, it's just good to keep all your case candy together. Personally, I never use the storage compartments in my guitars, even when I take them out to play. So I just end up keeping all of this stuff in there. You've got the keys for the case, of course. And now let's see what's in the bag. Gibson multi-tool. This is to adjust the bridge, truss rod, unscrew pickups, you know, the back plates, that kind of stuff. Service manual. This is some of my favorite Gibson case candy. I always love it when they include the baby photo. Pre-packed checklist. Ooh, nice polishing cloth. I don't remember if the rest of my guitars have one like this. Super soft. I also wanted to mention that I opened up the second guitar, the one that came from Sweetwater, and wow, this one has just some beautiful, beautiful wood grain. The grainage here in the back, the grain here in the back is just so beautiful and dense, and same way here at the top. So, you know, everybody has preferences on how they want their guitar to look. Obviously, you know, you'll always want to play the one that plays and sounds the best, but all else being equal, I'm a big fan of like dense wood grain, and this one has it. You know, the little 55-point inspection booklet where they actually tell you everything that they checked out. That's pretty cool. You know, I always like that. And if you're like me and have always wondered what these little rubber things that came with Gibsons are for, they actually are for the bottom of the case, so that in case of any shipping trauma, it actually cushions the fall for the bottom strap button there. So today I learned. So for the playing demo, I'll actually be playing the one that I got from Sweetwater. You know, it's just the one I want to try out first. They're both beautiful and both amazing though, so kind of a hard decision, but you know, I already have this one in my hand, so I'll be plugging it into my trusty old Traynor YCV40. I swapped this out with a Made in England Celestion speaker. I normally run sound direct in, it's just a lot easier for me, but I figured a lot of y'all that would be watching this video would appreciate just what it sounds like straight through a tube amp. I got a couple of pedals here. It's mostly gonna be my Boss SD1, a little bit of a Boss TR2, and a looper that I have. So those will be most of the pedals you'll be listening to. Oh, and one last thing that I forgot to mention that came from Sweetwater is they actually included a blank truss rod cover. All right, so let's plug it in and see how it sounds. right, y'all, so there it is, unboxing the Rick Beato. So what are my thoughts on this guitar? Well, honestly, I like it a lot, and as I said before, you know, you get a beautiful color, not a lot of double cuts in the Gibson lineup. I think it's a really cool guitar. Love the P90s. I ended up loving how these sound. I've actually never ever have played a P90 equipped guitar before, and they really are just so clear, but they get that nice fat sound whenever you put an overdrive with them. The neck profile is not too thin, not too chunky. So I have a couple of other Gibsons, and including a Les Paul Standard 60s, and it's right around that kind of neck profile. If anything, I think this one has a slightly wider fingerboard, especially here, you know, kind of in that 12th fret area. But I love the open 4 finish. This does not feel cheap at all. This feels really and looks the part. It looks so nice. So is it worth the price tag? If you enjoy this double cut shape and you just absolutely love the color blue, yes, I would say it is worth it. However, if you are just looking for a solid P90 Gibson guitar and you don't really care that much about the color and you just want like that high, nice fretboard access, you may look at an SG Special, honestly. Like, they are a better value, you know, but there is something special about this Rick Beato guitar. This one is just super light, super resonant. Every time I just let out those chords ring. It could be that the amp was right here, but honestly, like, it was just shaking the whole guitar in a nice, very musical way. The overtones on the thing just, and I don't know if I was able to capture it on the recording. An interesting thing to talk about is that price tag, right? So I'm going to go ahead and take out one of my other Gibsons. I haven't yet made a video about my Les Paul Standard, but this is just an awesome guitar in every way. Everything I've ever wanted in a Les Paul, this guitar has it. Tone, fit and finish, playability. This is just an awesome guitar. And the top on it, you know, for what I paid for it, is just a really nice example in my opinion. So that's the $1 million question, right? For what these go for new, you can find one of these examples used. So when you think about it that way, you know, what you're missing out on the Rick Beato is that you get a nice maple top, you know, beautiful like body binding, humbuckers, of course, what some people would consider better tuners, just better hardware overall. You know, you got your nice control layout, beautiful pick guard, that kind of stuff. But when you think about it this way, what this goes for, as of this recording, this is going well over what people were paying retail. So once you start looking at it that way, you know, these were a pretty good buy new. And would I make this purchase again? Yes, totally would. You know, what I enjoyed playing about this guitar was just like the neck, the sound, and this is definitely something I'll probably just end up admiring. You know, like I mentioned before, I just like to take them out of the box and looking at them. For me, guitars are not just instruments you play. Of course, you know, that's their main function, but they really are pieces of art in my opinion. So y'all may not have seen me play that much up here in the demo, but the upper fret axis here is just wonderful. Usually on Les Paul style guitars, I'll be able to play in that E box pretty comfortably, but anything past that, you know, it's a bit of a struggle. This one does not struggle. I can get up there in that A pentatonic box real easily, play that 22nd note with no problem at all. So that's probably part of the design philosophy that they had whenever they made this model, is that, and I've noticed in some other YouTube reviews that they mention this, is that this part, they cut into it a little more versus some of the other double cut specials that are a little more rounded. This one has just like a nice flat cut right there. So you can easily just like get up there with your pinky. Super nice, really well thought out. Well, all right, y'all, there you have it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, unboxing these with me, and listening to me just kind of noodle away a little bit. This was definitely so much fun. I wanted to share it with you all. If you're on the fence about getting one of these, I totally recommend it. The hype is real. The color is beautiful. They play perfect. And these P90s and this guitar particularly sound killer. So yeah, there you have it, and I will catch y'all later.